Hey. On reset, Mythic, Zero, and normal heroic grade is available. Oh. Poor guy. It does. It's interesting, right? It does seem... I don't remember in Dragonflight feeling like the real content was so far away for whatever reason. But it do be feeling like that. There's no reason it shouldn't. Man, I really feel like it wouldn't be that big of a deal because really, truly, there are a group of people that this is made for, and there's a reason it is delayed. The exact... Guys, have you noticed that even on Twitter, a website typically dominated by endgame players, as far as it's concerned, that endgame opinions are getting turbo ratioed in the opposite direction by casuals? First of all, this means WoW is so fucking back. Second, it shows you that it's sometimes hard to look outside of you the only way you think about a game, but like the vast majority of players do not think like you, right? But man, it would be nice if there was just something you could do, even not for rewards. Like, okay, hear me out. Dragonflight Season 4 Mythic Plus dungeons are still available to be run, and they're scaled up a little bit. They give you 0 rewards. There's no reason to do it, other than it just gives you something to play the game against. Like, if you want to just play your character, you can do that, right? Like, that right now, I feel like would be nice. I would do that. I would do that on my Enhance. People actually just want... There's a void of something in the game, and what that is the ability to play your character against challenging content. I understand it releases in a few weeks, but like not having it available at all feels really weird. It's like the only time all year where that's true. Shouldn't need add-ons to raid Mythic. Alright, let's just fucking get it going then. Let's just fucking slam it. Bottom left was easy. I already turned my lights on. So it was built easy, bro. Do you know what? Actually, add-ons are ruining my game. Max, will heroic splits be streamed? Yes. I can't confirm whether or not Queen Ansurek pulls will be streamed on heroic. I actually would assume not. But the rest of the bosses for sure, yeah. Really mad. Will JPC play for the upcoming race? Nah, he's burnt out. Old bro burned himself out. Will evade? Nah. He, Evade wasn't a fan of the 15 characters. I fear. Max, I'm assuming Ben heard 15 and dipped real fast. No, I think there was just a PoE season at the same time. Or a gauntlet or something. "15 characters is turbo disgusting Lamau. Why is it 15 versus like 5? Do you want a short answer or a long answer? Well, I'm not going to give you the long answer because I've done this before. The short answer is, to compete in the race world first, you want to have as much gear as possible. Would you, if you had to guess, out of the two numbers, 5 characters and 15 characters, which one do you think gives us more gear in Heroic Week? It must be 5, right? 5. Yeah. Yeah, 15. I mean, you can do higher than 15. The thing is you're getting like if you were to like simulate your guild eye level in that situation, maybe it goes up by like 0.1 or 0.2 by adding 20 characters to 15. But you also lose time in Heroic Week to prep. And I think maybe a lot of people are forgetting how much value there is in having a Heroic Week, right? Like, you don't get to see Queen Ansurek before Heroic. Bro, you could off-stream spend 2 days in that bitch and just, like, learn everything there is to do about that, test everything there is about Mythic, get actual reps, try different things, you know? Farming an extra barely any gear instead of missing that is really bad. I obviously understand it, but isn't it sad to maybe lose an amazing player because of this? It depends on the situation. It depends on the tier. The drop off from Evade to Shack is, if there is a drop off, it's extremely small. If there's a drop off from JPC to Exile, if there is a drop off, it's insanely small, right? You obviously want to have as many good players as possible. If anything, Evade is actually like a really smart brain guy. You want those. Not everyone's a brain guy. But I don't know. Because you need to make 15 characters. Hello, surprise. And because you need to, like, and you need everyone to buy into that, you can't really just have players in your guild that aren't doing it. Right? It makes people weird. It's against the union rules. Actually, due to the percentage chance of which type of gear will drop and the multiplicative equivalency, you're just making shit up. Oh, I see at the end of this message. Yep. The multiplicative, I'll read it because I'm already halfway there. The multiplicative equivalent fallacy of tier, the optimal character amount is 27. In parentheses, I made all this up. Yep, beautiful. Beautiful. Love that. Will Evade still be involved with strats, etc.? No, I don't think so. Max, can you quantify how valuable Sang's brain is? Nope, Sang's invaluable. Sang's great. Isn't the race world first? GG if you have 15 Sun Fury mages bursting the bosses down. Easy win. Maybe, man. You guys get to decide today. Although I will say the community consensus pick for whatever the best DPS is and trying to say you're going to stack a million of those things historically is never true. Like, I think the last time in WoW that you stacked a class, like truly stacked, like if you, every single free DPS spot was one class, it would have been correct. I think it was Fire Mages in Nyalotha. I think was the last time that was true. I don't think there's been I could be wrong, but I don't think that's been true since. Moonkin and Sanctum is a good point, but I don't think so. Because Moonkin's weird. Like Moonkin was a Sylvanas specific thing. Like they were really good, but like they were just way too good for Sylvanas, like the way that P1 worked. DK and Nathria. Yeah, actually you're right. DK's you're exactly sorry, I missed that. Yeah, I forgot. Because that's like right after Nyalotha, and DK and Nathria was every bit as good as Fire Mage was in Nyalotha. Yeah. Rogue for Zul. That was years before all the stuff we're talking about. And it's also an irrelevant easy boss. Also, the world third kill of Zul had one rogue. I mean, they're like it. Just like I don't even understand why it's a talking point. It's an irrelevant fight that was super easy. That was made easier by stacking a class, but was still easy without them. Max, are you feeling any stress prepping for the first race of the expansion? No. I've been doing this for long enough. I know what I'm doing. Not to mention that we have a heroic week this time. So when you don't have a heroic week, it is insanely important that you are exactly right. But with a heroic week, it is way, way, way fucking easier to be right. Because a lot of the times, the best class on paper isn't the best class in the raid. Like, you could take two exact class tuning metas that exist, right? They're the exact same. And in one raid, certain classes will be good, and in another raid, other classes will be good. Sometimes fights are just specifically great for a specific spec, right? And those fights are really important. And that changes, right? So when you're in Heroic Week, the difference between having to guess and pick people's mains before you even see the raid on live versus, which by the way includes ever seeing the last boss at all, the most important one, right? In Heroic Week, you could actually spend multiple days just doing the last two bosses on Heroic, patching together whatever information you have about Mythic and your Mythic testing on the second to last boss, and then simulate Mythic on the last boss. So like I'm kind of making up numbers here, but like your ability, it's infinitely harder to get things wrong when you have the access to the shit for an entire week ahead of time, right? Like the difference between Heroic and Mythic as far as what classes will be good for this is very small, right? Like Mythic is significantly harder for many, many reasons, but like if a class is really good on Heroic, the chances that it's like not good on Mythic is like almost impossible, right? So like when it comes to determining the best tank comp, the best healer comp, whatever, like you can just try different ones before it happens. It's so much easier to be right. So to answer your question, which is like, are you stressed about this race? No, I'm like fully confident in my ability and our guild's ability, given that sample size and what we already know, to get whatever questions there are right. For sure. We're really good at this. We do it a lot. Max, are you feeling any stress about having to see someone who sleeps in jeans in person? Yeah, it freaks me out every time. When are we doing the comp thing? Whenever I want. So, in like 10 minutes or an hour, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, the idea is we're going to make a spreadsheet, and you guys, one by one, are going to pick the Race World First raid comp. There's 20 raid slots. We're going to assume 2 tanks, 4 healers, 14 DPS. And you guys are actually just going to pick who's bringing the raid buff from each class, what spec is bringing it. You have like 6 spots or so left over. Who do those spots go to? It'll come down very simply to a chat vote, and we will refer to this in the future and see how right you were. Meme list or real? Real. A meme list would... The content... There's 0 content in a meme list. Oh, they keep putting the same shitty class. Oh, that's so good. Like, it's like, you know what I'm saying? That's like very cheap humor. It'd be a funny bit for 5 minutes and then nothing. This would actually be interesting. Max, what do you reckon will be the best DPS in raids? What class do you play? Death Knight? It's that one. Max, how does the main city feel if 10 is Borealis and 0 is Orgrimmar? Alright, let's get... Before we even rate the city, let's discuss what you just said. So Borealis is just the most overrated city ever, right? Like, to me, the vibes, the aesthetics of the city is everything. Borealis was very convenient where everything was. Which matters, right? But, like... Calling that a 10 is crazy. Like, Borealis had no sauce. It was just, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just the most overhyped city. It's not close. Up there with Dalaran. Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. Probably, I don't know, man. It's like, you have to give it like a whole expansion. Like, initially I was confused where everything was, but then I learned where everything was, and I like dragon riding around it, and I think the theme and the vibe is pretty cool. It's got, like, the little council. It's got all these little houses, bro. It's got the big hole in it. I will say what I really like about this expansion actually is the fact that within, like, 30 seconds you could be in the Ringing Deeps, Hollowfall, or the last zone. Like, I like how, I guess how they designed how you can navigate between each zone. I really like that. What about Zandalar? I mean, this is probably a hot take, but, like, I think Dazar'alor is so much better than Borealis. Right? Like, if... The only argument I could imagine against that is, like, you're just a stickler for convenience. And you're just like, I just need to know where everything is, and everything has to be super close. Like, for sure, Dazar'alor had some super spread out stuff, wasn't great. But, like, it had so much theme, such an iconic fucking look, dude. I loved that shit. I love flying around it. That whole... Dazar'alor fucking owns, man. I love Dazar'alor. I'm so happy I was hoarding that expansion. Max, is there a difference between two-hand or dual-wield weapons as monk? That's the exact kind of, like, statistical math question that you're never gonna get out of me. I don't fucking know. If I were to guess, one-handers are going to be way better than two-handers early because weapon enchants, historically, which I don't even know what they do this expansion, but weapon enchants historically are really, really overpowered at the beginning because of the way that the game scales. If they give you like a flat amount of stats. So usually you want to dual wield because you just simply double the amount of enchants you have on your gear. Or double the amount of enchants you have on your weapons. But as the expansion goes on and they don't update the enchants, that becomes less true, and it doesn't really matter which one you choose. Like dual wielding versus two hand on monk isn't like Frosty K where it like changes your play style and your build. So it doesn't really matter. You just gave him an answer right after you were saying you're never answering that kind of question? Well, I said I'm never answering that any question with like, here's my statistical proof as to why that's true. What I just made up everything I said. I said this is what makes sense in my head as to which one is better, but I actually don't know if it's true, and I'm just making it up. So I'm not giving him a statistical answer. I could be wrong. I have no idea. Max, do you think we are going to see any more class changes prior to raid launch? Yeah, of course. I think there will be changes every Friday leading up to the heroic raid launch, and definitely including that week. And usually if they throw any extra ones, it'll be on Monday right before the reset. I doubt they'll do Monday ones before I think there might be a Monday tuning the day before heroics come out, and I think there'll be a Monday tuning the day before mythics come out, but I think there'll be Friday tuning until then. There'll be constant raid tuning, yeah. If you guys remember, I don't know if it'll be exactly like Season 1 of Dragonflight, but Season 1 of Dragonflight had the most, like, balance changes of any patch in WoW's history. It had more balance changes than most expansions had in total. It was fucking crazy. I don't know if that's going to happen again this time, but, like, they were fucking crazy about that in Dragonflight. Beginning of Dragonflight. Max, I wasn't around yesterday, but what was your take on the Arcane Mage nerf and drama? Well, I don't know how it really affects the class anyway. I just think it's super fucked up that Blizzard decided to make any changes to Mage after the APL creator and Theory Crafter guy had already done work on it. I thought that was completely egregious. Did you guys give Blizzard your DPS testing info this tier as well? Not yet, actually, but... yeah, it's really interesting. We gave them that info, like, way earlier in previous patches, but, like, this time it was so all over the place that it seemed, like, completely irrelevant to do so, but we probably will do that soon, yeah. Max, did you do the Hallowfall fishing weekly? Only available on Saturday. I don't do stuff like that. Surely they have someone to sit on your testing in dev mode or some shit. Oh, they watch all of our testings, but none of our damage testings are done in a testing environment. I highly, highly, highly doubt that our DPS tests are monitored by Blizzard. In fact, I believe they've told us they aren't. They're just like random meetings at certain times on PTR at certain dummies. And even if you had all the information, you wouldn't know when we were telling them to start and stop and like exactly what we were using to calculate it. And because of that, it would be incomplete data. So what are you even looking at? Because you have to like customize the logs and damage correct for things taking more physical and magic damage. You would just be getting wrong data. They aren't able to pull all of that on the back end? I don't know, probably. They probably could, but from what they say, I don't think they do. And not to mention, I doubt they would do all the damage correcting stuff you would need to do. That takes a while. Your Mog looks like a disaster. Thank you. Wait, can you explain the whole APL thing? What Arcane mage change was egregious? Well, basically, like, they had already figured out the sim for Arcane going into the tier, and then Blizzard made a class change, so they had to redo part of it, which I just think is fucked up. Like, you can't do that to people. So no class changes? Yeah, absolutely none. Max, the worst part was that this was a known bug and they decided to... Oh, God. Oh, no. Max, what's your favorite of the 4 zones so far? I mean, that's not even close. That is such an unfair question. That is like... Hallowfall would absolutely windmill dunk every zone in almost every expansion, probably all of them. So, like, putting him up against it in a single zone is fucking insane. Max, the funny part is that Faker doesn't even use skins. I forgot about that bit. This thing is so expensive. And Faker doesn't even use skins. That's irrelevant. No, but you don't get it. He doesn't use them. Fuck yeah, man. I fucking hate Riot. I hate everything about him. Fuck him. Dude, it was surreal yesterday, like reacting to a react and watching Growl's chat figure out what dating in real life was in real time, and watching a lot of them give confident opinions about how that date should have went down based on portrayals of dates they've seen in TV shows and anime. I can't believe I lived through that moment. Wait, I want the TLDR on that. What happened? I had a friend. It was like a story I had on the podcast. I had a friend who had another friend. So I have a friend who's a girl, and she had a guy friend who she was not romantically interested in. He was interested in her. We found out after the fact, and he just asked her to go hang out and go to an escape room with him with a group of friends. If it was a date, she would have said no. She wasn't into him. And it turns out, either on purpose or not, the people they were going to do the escape room with weren't going to go, so it was just going to be the two of them, which would have been kind of weird. So because the friends backed out, it ended up being a solo thing, or like a duo thing, which, by the way, doing an escape room isn't even a good date. It's like a really weird, overwhelming situation. Like, some people in my chat who worked at escape rooms yesterday said they literally block people from doing that because it's always really bad. So because of that, she asked a couple of our friends to show up. So me, my girlfriend, Pobelter, Cyan, and Hugo showed up to do this escape room with them. And then that's like the only important part of the story that's there. But like when Growl was reacting to our podcast, which I didn't know was a thing people do, his chat was trying to litigate whether she was in the right to bring people on the escape room date since she already agreed to it. And it was just reading a bunch of Twitch chat takes about people who've clearly never been on a date before, but like know what the idea of a date is, and were just like saying some very questionable takes about how the girl should have handled that situation. That's all. It was some fucking wild shit. It was like, yeah, very surreal. Yeah, exactly. A lot of it came down to after you said yes, you can't say no anymore, which was, yeah, that was definitely the primary take being had. But she basically got tricked into going on a date, which she didn't want to go on and would have never said yes to in the first place. And they were like, "Well, she should have just been honest with him." It's like, no, it's not deep like that. He didn't, right? Like, it was kind of on him the way that he put it there. Right, and we all had a good time. A group of people showed up to the escape room, which was the original idea. The other friends backed out, making it a date, whether that was intentional or not. And then we filled in the friends, and then we had a good time. But then, like, the weirdos in the chat were like, yeah, but, like, you know, she said yes, and she had to go. Like, she just goes. Oh, no. Oh, no. I would have faked being sick the easy way out. Yeah, I love how, too, like, everyone loves to say they're the person that will have those hard conversations and awkward text messages and shit, but will do anything on earth to avoid them. Like, what could have happened is when she realized it was a date, instead of inviting some friends and making it a fun night, which it was, it ended up turning out great. I think it was objectively the right decision. Right? What she could have been like was, hey, I didn't know it was just gonna be the two of us. I don't know if I'm actually down for that, but like, let me know if there's a group of people going in the future, right? But like, that's like a hard message to send, bro. And just as many as you guys want to put it on her that like she should have sent that instead of what she did, I want to see how many of you guys have the balls to do that, if that even was the case. Guaranteed 90% of the people saying that would do something else or try to avoid confrontation at all. Why force an uncomfortable conversation on yourself with someone you barely know? That you're holding her to a standard you would never hold yourself to? What is it? That's not that hard, but inviting people to something you were invited to yourself kind of awkward. Hey, would you want to go to an escape room with me and my friends? Sure. Yes. These other people I know that work with you. Yeah, cool. All right, 2 days later. Okay, they can't show up. Oh, that's fine, actually. I think a couple of my friends want to go. Is that cool? Yes. Okay. How is that weird? I don't get it. It takes us that it's not weird. It's just not. It's not weird. It wasn't weird. None of it's weird. Very normal. There's some crazy takes in the chat. Yeah, they're everywhere, bro. I mean, some of it could have been misunderstanding from the original context, but I feel like adequate context has been given now. I feel like there's literally zero more questions to ask without self-reporting real hard. How many hours are you going to talk about this? This is the third hour. I'll talk about that and anything else however the fuck much I want, right? Someone just brought it up, so I let them know what happened. They asked what happened yesterday, and I told them, and then they were like, I want more context, and I gave it to them. So, and I'll, by the way, I'll do that like fucking tomorrow, the next day, I'll do whatever the fuck I want, right? I'm not gonna, right? I'll always do that. Max Ellie versus Enhancement? That's easy, man. You never actually have to ask yourself that question. Because the real answer is, do you like playing melee or ranged more? Unless you're one of the few people who actually can't decide the answer to that question, most people, even ones who play both, if you were to ask them that, gun to their head, which one do you like more, they would have an answer for you. They're so different that it's almost impossible to think that you could like both of them equally. Like, I actually hate casters compared to melee. Like, I think melee is so much more fun. That's why I've always gravitated to it. Some people feel the exact opposite. Right? So you never have to ask yourself Ellie or Enhance. It's just like melee and range are so different. You just that's the decider. Max, are you sad about the DK nerf? Not really. The DK nerf was like a very, very, very small nerf and didn't change really the playstyle of anything. It just... Right? I mean, what is there to be sad about? Like if you're in the middle of a season and you already have an idea of where this class stacks up against other classes, you could be sad. I guess. But that's not... First of all, most of you guys have no idea what like the current balance is in the game right now. You're just guessing. I guess any nerf doesn't feel good. Hey, I like this class. How did the nerf feel? Well, not amazing, you know. But pretty much any class, no matter how good they are, a 2.5% nerf wouldn't do anything. So. DK nerf after 3 add-ons of being shit is a statement. What are you talking about? Oh, I think add-ons means expansions. DKs have not been bad for 3 expansions. Unless you're like a pure Mythic Plus only Andy. In which case, that's also not true. And he said add-ons, and I'm mad. Removing add-ons is such an interesting take. And it's not surprising that the whole all add-ons should be gone take comes from the crowd of people that are not currently playing retail, but it's on one of their like bucket list wishes of things if they were to change about retail, they would definitely come back, even though coming back to that version of retail turns out wouldn't make them a kid again. Because the reality is if they removed add-ons, it would make the game significantly worse for years in almost all aspects. And you don't have, and if you're someone who's not playing the game, no wonder you're advocating for no add-ons, because you're hoping just magically in 3 years they remove all add-ons and then they're forced to bake all of it into the existing game, which by the way would hinder progress in every other area. But you don't care about the fallout of the first couple years of the game being immediately worse, because you just might theoretically come back one day, which is why it's a belief held vastly by very like bitter people that don't play WoW anymore, that are just making up reasons why the game isn't for them anymore. What is it? I don't even think it's add-ons. It's weak auras is a bit much, though. You're not going to find many people, myself included, that are fans of weak auras like turbo-solving raid mechanics and stuff. I don't think there's a lot of defenders of that. But when you're saying remove all add-ons, I don't think you understand how many people use, like, the most innocent, great add-ons that make their transmog collecting, their mount collecting, their just general UI preferences, just everything just better. There's like there's so many little add-ons that just add so much variety and value to the game that those being removed just to get rid of one thing would be such an obvious and clear negative thing. Like, so much fucking worse. Right? That's why it is not... Like, when you see someone that are like, remove all add-ons from this game, there's like a 95% chance they just don't play WoW, but still think about it constantly, even though they quit years ago. Which, again, is just the most unhealthy behavior I could imagine. But remove all add-ons from my fucking game. Remove them. Max, if I'm only playing 2 specs for Mythic Plus this season, should I play AUG or Dev alongside my Ret? Whatever the fuck you want, man. I can't answer that question for you. Whichever one you like more. That's so interesting when people are like, I have these few specs that I like for different reasons and I can't decide. You, person who doesn't know me. Which one do I play? Fucking love that shit. Which one do I truly like more? It's like I'm the Harry Potter hat that like selects your house. People appreciate your opinion. My opinion of what they should play as a class, like, but I have no idea what they like or don't like about games. I could tell them to play the most, like, I guess, even if I was giving this information out, like the most OP melee spec or something, but maybe they hate melee or hate the way that that spec plays. WoW's not super homogenous. Specs play pretty different to one another, right? Like, I can't answer that question. I know what you're thinking. Like, Max, they already know that. What they're really just asking you is they want you to tell them what's going to be good. But, like, I don't know what else to do for you there. Like, I had a video on YouTube where a lot of people on there that play and specialize in their specific class tell you a bit about their class and could help you make that decision. And regardless of how much I know or don't know about the meta of this game and where tuning currently stands, I'm never going to tell you that. So, like, and that's known, I think. My other streamer said all specs feel the same. Really? I pretty much only... So I think saying between roles is a crazy thing, but even within the same role, I don't think that's true. I don't agree with that take at all. Max, did you watch the Quinn video? No, of course not. Specs feel the same way if you're bad. Interesting. I don't think that's true. Right? Like, if you're bad at the game, if you're not great at games, and there's kind of a decent bit going on in WoW, I would say specs probably feel super different because you struggle to understand the concepts of them, where if you're super good, I could see like, okay, if you're really good at the game, or if you're somewhat good at the game, and maybe you're somewhat good at one class or spec, you've probably gone to another spec, and you're not just reading the spell book like, what is everything? Like, you identify things that are similar to other specs. Like, if you played a Havoc Demon Hunter and you logged on a Windwalker Monk, you'd be like, okay, like, Rising Sun Kick is kind of Blade Dance in your rotation, right? And, like, Roll, you could bind to Fell Rush, and, you know, Tiger Palm you could bind to Demon's Bite if you weren't, if you were playing that thing. And, like, you know what I'm saying? Like there's so many, like, parallels, but, like, everything else makes things different, right? But I still feel like there's enough there where you can find, like for me, if I'm playing a Havoc Demon Hunter and then I go over to Monk, the very first thing I'm doing is I'm binding Rising Sun Kick to my Blade Dance keybind, and I'm binding Blackout Kick to my Chaos Strike keybind. And that would, like, just straight away would help you so much. But my point is that comes from a place of experience. That comes from understanding a class well enough and reading tooltips and instantly deducing that you would make a similar decision in your mind to press a button in a specific situation. And that would make it easier for you to learn a class. But in a way, that makes classes feel the same. Right? But that only comes from a place of being good at it. Where if you're not so good, maybe you don't make that correlation at all. You bind things super randomly. You don't really understand what's a cooldown and what isn't, you know. I'm probably reading way too much into that answer that you gave, but I think it's the opposite of what you said. I think the better you are at the game, the more homogenous the game feels. And I think the worse you are at the game, the more different everything feels, I think is where I would land there. But I think even if you make those correlations, but then you likely understand the nuances between them more and can feel the differences more clearly, yeah, that makes sense too. Max, you didn't read my last message. Open my chat history right now and read it. I demand an answer. Okay. At maximum, how many characters would each guildie make before adding one more with the certainty, absolutely not add any additional power or value? Bro, did you just, like, say a bunch of words together that... Actually, that goes hard. I appreciate that. I'm pretty sure this is a bit. Wait, let me look at the rest. Okay, so this person's chat history is posting a bird cock, multiple Mickey Mouse ASCIIs, and then they have 4 messages, all of which are the bit of trying to ask a very simple question in the most complicated way possible. That is a fucking excellent chat history. That's a good bit. What is it? I think they were saying that bad people say it's all builder spender because they don't read buffs and don't know talent interactions. I mean, I think it's like a bell curve, kinda. Right? Like, have you guys seen the paint thing? Wait, what's the most recent thing on my paint? Oh, I even remember what I was talking about here. But, like, right? Have you guys seen the bell curve where it's like... like that, and then it would be like here, every class is the same, and it's the meme of the guy that's like really stupid, and then over here it's like every class is the same, and it's the guy looking really cool in the hood, and then in the middle it's that guy who's like super frustrating. He's like, no, every class has such insane differences. You have to feel the different flow and shit like that. Max, check your check your donation messages. I don't really do that. Guys, do not donate to me. I'm just gonna take that shit off my UI. I don't even know why it's still there. I do not need donations, and also it's not like a way to ask a question. I mean, come on, play Enhance and DK, for example. Where is this the same? Yeah, those are two melee classes that are quite unique. I mean, look at the 3 classes I play, right? Like Windwalker, Enhance, and Frost DK, like, play completely differently. Like, completely differently. I'm trying to think of what wouldn't. Like, maybe like current Rep Paladin and Havoc DH. No, because then you have like a little combo point system a little bit. I'm thinking of like how I-Beam is like a mini cooldown every 30 seconds, and then Wake of Ashes is now literally like your cooldown every 30 seconds. But then the way you generate and spend is so different. Okay, in short, what are your stance on Healy and Plater strings? Those literally just trivialize the game and take individual skill out. If you or anyone who defends those disgusting add-ons, then you're part of why this game fell off. Oh god, what a take. Alright, so I don't think there's any problem with Healy. So this whole like Healy trivializes the game. If that was true, you would see like people at the top using them. Exclusively, no one at the top uses Healy or something like that. But what Healy does is it helps newer players understand their like 30 buttons and like what rotation they would use and why, and you use it as a learning tool. What Healy would be bad for would be if you just used Healy and you never got better at it and you just like let it carry you forever. I actually think that's the vast minority of people who use something like that. I think people use it who need help, and I think people experiencing different things in the game and like needing that little extra help, especially learning something new, is totally fine. Because a lot of times you do have 3 or 4 buttons off cooldown and you're like, man, I don't really get WoW that much. I don't know which one I should press next. And then the thing tells you what to press. Then you're like, oh, okay, I get it. Why did that happen? And then you look at the text and you're like, oh, you would always press this before this. It's higher in the priority system, whatever, right? And then you're like, you're learning better than someone who's completely overwhelmed, in my opinion. That being said, as soon as you get any good at the game at all, I highly recommend, once you understand why you would press different buttons, I think you should absolutely get rid of that. But it existing in general, I think, is only positive for the game. And what was the other thing you brought up? Plater strings. Okay, Plater is a really weird add-on to go through because I think if you were going to talk about any of WoW's default systems that have been upgraded in Dragonflight, right? It's like the raid frame's way better, the general UI way better. But there's a few things that are like still unbelievably fucking bad, which is the WoW's nameplates, default nameplates are atrocious. And Plater is just one of the add-ons that just makes you able to customize your nameplates. And I don't understand any argument, unless you're going to do the argument that like all delete all add-on people refer to anytime they're losing an argument is, well, if that add-on didn't exist, Blizzard would be forced to put it in their game and make it better and just be better for everyone. But the reality is, like, downloading an add-on isn't that difficult if you want it. I mean, can you play the game with default nameplates? Yes. Could you win Race to World first with default nameplates? Yes, you could. But if you want them to look different or look however you want, it's there. I think there's some issue with Plater. So there is one thing about Plater that I actually don't like. It is, do you guys know when you're in a dungeon how like mobs have certain cooldowns on important spells, and like there's that icon next to the mob on their nameplate that shows how much longer it is until they cast X spell again? I actually don't like that. Like, that's the kind of information I think you should have to remember. Like, I don't like Isn't that a weak aura? It's not Plater. There are Plater things that do that, but that kind of weak aura or whatever interaction in the game is bad. So whether that's Plater or not, but you know, just things like that. But I mean, that's not a new take. I am pretty firmly against any like weak aura or add-on or anything that trivializes like the actual content you're supposed to be figuring out and just tells you everything. I would prefer if pretty much all of that was gone. But that's not me changing my stance. I've always felt that way. The reality is, if your solution to that is remove all add-ons, I just think you're an idiot, because that would affect so many other people. That's like relatively a minor problem compared to the major problem that would be how much worse the game would be for almost all types of players if all add-ons were gone. Trivialize is relative, though. Yeah, for sure. I mean, there are people, again, mostly people who don't, which is why I say they don't play the game, that are like, add-ons trivialize like raid content, for example. They're like, just, dude, you would like have no fucking chance if you didn't have raid content. You know, there's people in our guild who basically don't use timers, and I'm not making this up, use boss voice lines that are purely in game as their indicator as to when mechanics are happening. It's actually really fucking good. Like, if you actually have that on, you end up associating sound cues with something that's happening. That's purely in game. There are people who do that at the highest level, right? Most people who say, in fact, there's actually some scenarios where the people who do that have actually been better at mechanics. Like, do you guys remember Skarn when they were like arming the new traps? There wasn't a great indicator visually when that was happening, but there was a sound that played in the boss music that let you know it was happening, and that happened way before you could see it, and it was fucking amazing. Yeah, most people who are like add-ons completely trivialize raid content are usually people making things up who don't play the game or understand the game at a very low level. That being said, there are some egregious examples of that being true. Certainly like fight-defining, mechanically OP, like completely figuring out very unique boss mechanics type things, which again, I've never said anything other than those are definitely bad, but I think those can be addressed. And I think the other option is nuclear and completely ridiculous. Or parroting a streamer who doesn't play the game. It's most often that, yeah. Yeah, also there was there's a guild that I met at DreamHack. I have a picture with them and their guild leader. I think their name's Undaunted. They are a deaf raiding guild. And I believe they rely on add-ons existing in the game to even make them being able to clear cutting edge as a deaf guild possible at all. Right? So, like, by saying removing all add-ons, you're also saying basically remove accessibility options for people with disabilities to play the game, which is a pretty tough look. You got cutting edge with them? I was one of 2 hearing people. Fuck yeah. Asmund said they should get rid of DPS meters. Now, that's one thing that I'm actually almost there with. Not in WoW specifically. There's a lot of things, and I don't think this is hypocritical either. Like, I think there are a lot of things that exist in WoW that you couldn't remove because WoW's been out for a long time. But hey, if I was making a new MMO and I could have damage meters or not have damage meters, I would definitely look into all the reasons of why you would do both. I do think damage meters existing in a game does promote like the worst kind of person and player base. Like, most people handle it positively. You just use it as a tool, a resource to get better, a resource to improve yourself. But some people make it their entire own personality, and it does, like, can taint a game over a long period of time. But, like, not having logs would be so bad. Like, it's weird. Like, I could definitely hear out an argument of a new game not allowing damage meters, but I think you could never take it away from a game that already has them. For sure. Because then that community's already fostered itself. Like, because you could, like, only see your own damage, and I think that would help a lot, too. There needs to be a study on how good Lost Ark does this. Yep, true. Logs are a great tool to improve as a group. Live damage meters feel like it almost brings out the toxicity of some people being better than others based on one fight. Oh yeah, I mean also if you look at Twitch chat over the years, I've wondered why certain people have like higher PR than other people. Like there are players that I think I'll have like 2 players that I've played with or I've seen play, and I have like different opinions on them if players. Right? And then chat's opinion almost always differs from that. And I think high-end Twitch chat or like end game Twitch chatters, Twitter users or whatever, especially class Discord people, they like super idolize people who get really high parses in games, especially in WoW, even though that means so little. There again, I have played in a top 10 world guild where a #1 Warcraft logs all-star player was in our guild. And he was without a question the worst player in the guild. Now, obviously, in Liquid we don't public log, but like you wouldn't be in this guild if you weren't capable of that. And there are people that we've recruited that had that were fucking awful and couldn't raid here, right? Like it's so unimportant, right? So, but people idolize it because it is kind of the only metric that exists, right? Other than playing with someone and understanding how good they are. What is it? We've had rank 1 Mythic Plus players who died every pull and raid. Well, I think that is kind of similar to how 2 players... Okay, so in raid, you can have an unbelievably great player and a pretty good player that are both playing the same spec. 50 pulls into farm or late season Mythic Plus when you've done a raid fight 50 to 100 times, or you've cleared a 27 of whatever key this is 50 to 100 times, the unbelievably great player and the pretty good player look almost identical due to pure sample size. And this is why you need to play with people, because in the first 5 pulls of that raid boss, in the first 5 to 10 pulls of a really, really high Mythic Plus key you haven't seen before, the unbelievably great player and the good player, the pretty good player, the differences between them can be seen by someone who's never played WoW before from a fucking mile away. It, like, even a Twitch chatter, like anyone, if you were just watching the key, you'd be like, wow, those 2 players are clearly way different in skill level, right? So when you're looking at people who do Mythic Plus, right, if you base your opinion on them as a player by looking at how they play near the end of a season, which is actually when most of the high ratings and like titles are secured and things like that, you are potentially looking at someone who's just okay that has put in a ton of hours, right? You know, there's actually no way to know. They could actually be amazing, or they could be very average that have just done something a lot. You can see this in your guild all the time. There are probably people who you raid with that just care more about damage, and like in farm, if you were to just base them off their deep farm performance, they end up getting higher logs than the other player in your guild that plays their same spec. But you know in progression which one of those players is better, and it could be either of them really, but let's just say it's the one that doesn't really care as much about parses and farm, and after progression's over kind of loses their motivation. But like if it comes down to doing a mechanic right or just being a more valuable consistent raider damage wise and mechanic wise, by the way, oftentimes those players that parse high actually don't even do good progression damage. Like it takes them a while to get good at it. It's due to repetition. You know which one is the better player, right? So it's just to kind of go back to all of this. You said like I've had Mythic Plus players, rank 1 Mythic Plus players be bad in raid. Well, it's because you don't really know if they're good or not. It's the same, like, for example, people have recruited people to their guild that have had really, really high logs at the end of farm. Whether they recruited them to their guild and they're bad at progression. Well, those two things are not necessarily the same skill set. They're, well, I mean, they are the same skill set, I guess. It's just one of which is you're judging someone after they've done it a million times instead of improvising and doing it right away. And I think if you're going to ask any skill set that separates someone who's able to play at the race world first level versus someone who maybe even gets really good logs and is decent for the guild they're in, I think it is the difference between, like, what are the actual skills? I think it's intuition. So, like, their ability to be intuitive at their own level, not like guild-wide strategy, but like solving their own problems throughout a fight. I think that is like super important. Like, I think Fired Up is actually probably really good with that. Like, if Fired Up were to write, maybe this might come off as flame, but if Fired Up were to write a mage guide, I don't know if it would be great. I feel like if he spent a lot of time on it, I feel like it would, because I feel like he'd be good at whatever he did. But like, if you had any idea the levels of human intuition that dude has, like how intuitive he is, it is top whatever percent of humans that live on this earth. It's fucking insane. And that is what makes him good. If you rated with fire, if you rated in this guild and you're a really good mage and you did farm with us, or you did like late progression or something, you could be seen as the same as him. But if you were to only see the difference in how you would do one of these fights week 1 in Mythic and how much better he or someone like him would be than you in the first 10 pulls of a boss like that, you would like reconsider playing the game, right? Just the level of difference in how intuitive you can be. Now, I'm just using him as an example, but I mean, that's pretty much what separates a lot of people at this level. That's the reason that you never know if someone's going to be good until you do the race world first. You can recruit someone in farm. That's fucking amazing. You have everyone that's ever rated with them say, yo, that's the best player in our guild. That guy's fucking great. That guy's fucking awesome. All right, cool. He has good logs. He shows up in farm. He's already done these fights before. He does well. They get into the race. They actually get to a second to last or last boss in week 1, and you realize they don't quite have that level. That's a jump up. They don't have it, right? But there's no way to tell. You could be the best player in one of these guilds, and that isn't good enough to rate here, right? Like, that's below the end of our bench. It depends on the guild, but you know, people get reputation for different reasons. Anyways, on to the content for today. So, guys, you guys are geniuses, and you know everything. This is known. This has been known. You guys are fucking smart in this chat. And guys, I need some help. I have been racking my brain for the last couple weeks trying to figure out the Race to World first comp, and I don't know anything. I don't know what's good, I don't know what's bad, and I need the help of my chat. Okay, I need you all to band together, and you guys have to help me make the absolute best raid comp that we can use in this raid. Okay, let me pull up a little sheet. Okay, so this sheet that we're looking at already is just a convenient place that has all of the current, like, classes. Sorry, it's kind of bright. I'll make it smaller so you don't get blinded. I don't want to go dark mode because dark mode makes all of the classes look stupid. And I would rather you guys be a little blinded and then just do this. Anyway, so the reason I've ever used this sheet is it is a it's just showing what required raid buffs in your raid have progressed throughout the expansion. So if you care, this is how many required raid spots were needed for raid buffs in BFA, and then it added 1 in Shadowlands, and then it added 5 in Dragonflight, and the War Within has removed 1 required raid spot by just removing Red Aura, basically, and making it not just enhanced, but all of Shaman that bring the buff. All right, so what you guys are going to do is we're going to go all the way over here to the right. Actually, we're probably going to go down. And you guys are going to help me make a raid comp. Okay. Starting from, and let me copy and paste this thing up here. I don't really know what's the best way to do this when you guys want to add something, because it doesn't necessarily need to be a healers first or tanks first, right? Because a decision you make in DPS may be right. Like if you pick a Havoc DH, for example, then maybe you don't need a Vengeance, right? Because you already have the Havoc buff. So this can go in any order you guys want. You can add healers at any point. You can add tanks at any point. I'm just going to see where you guys are landing in the chat, and I'm going to try to come to a consensus off. We're not doing this as a meme, by the way. I want you guys to actually try. We're going to see how right you get. And also, we will be updating this list going into Heroic Week and leaving Heroic Week. So we will do 2 updates to this based on changes that happen and what if any changes happen that you think might alter it. We'll let you guys change it if you want. But will you tell us how right we get? Well, you're going to see how right we get, right? Because right after you do the last update, the next day is going to happen and we're going to be in whatever comp you think. So, let me check Dorky's tank tier list before we start. Ooh, that might be a mistake, right? Because, like, think, how high on the totem pole do you think tanks are as far as bringing the best tank versus bringing a raid buff that lets you not bring the worst DPS, right? Maybe a lot of you guys are like, they're at the bottom of the totem pole. You just play whatever raid buffs we need. That's not always true. Sometimes tanks are actually so good that you bring them even though you already have those buffs, right? Okay, so chat, where would you guys like to start? There's a couple of easy ones, right? There's some raid buffs that you need just to get it out of the way that can only be one roll, for example, right? So, chat, where would you guys like to start? No, we're not 4 mages, 4 augs. We are doing literally 1 spec in class at a time. All right? So 1 mage. I'm seeing a lot of mage, arcane mage. Okay, you guys want 1 arcane mage. Okay, so we'll put that. I usually like having melee near the top of the DPS and range at the bottom, so I'll just go ahead and put arcane mage here. So chat, are you guys happy with starting with what? Actually, do we even need to put the spec? I feel like it doesn't matter, because if it's a different spec, they can swap specs. There's nothing wrong with that. Let's just say mage, right? So you guys want a mage. Okay, so you guys want a mage. Is there another class that you guys want before we go on? It can be healer, tank, anything. I'm trying to judge. When it gets harder to figure out, I will do polls. Seeing a lot of locks, seeing a lot of warlocks. Okay, so you guys want 1 warlock to start out. Okay. 2 warlocks? You want to do 2 warlocks even after you have the 1 raid buff before you even see how the rest of your comp works out? That's not the right way to problem solve, right? I'll help you out a little bit there. That's wrong. You don't want to do that. Even if you thought you would run 4 mages, 4 rogues, 4 druids, whatever, like, you wouldn't do that until you're doing the most important thing every time, right? All right, so let's see where chat is going here. Okay, so I see a lot of people already advocating for, like, shaman and druid, but are you guys really confident right now in this list you know which spec of shaman is going to be your raid buff, which spec of druid is going to be before you even see, like, the process of elimination, kind of? That'd be crazy. I wouldn't know if you're doing this realistically. Okay, I'm seeing a lot. Okay, so you guys are really undecided even. Can I help you guys out a little bit? There's not that many more super obvious ones, but there are a couple, and I feel like you guys are kind of all over the place right now. Okay, it's obviously Hunter. Right? Hunter can only be DPS. You need a Hunter, right? So put a Hunter in there. All right. Same with Rogue. Exactly right. All right, so you got a Rogue. Okay. Max, please zoom in on sheet. Okay. A little bit. A little bit of zoom in. A little bit of zoom in right there. Oh, shit. Can I zoom this right without it? Oh, no. Let's do one more thing out. That's right where it was. All good. We're keeping it there. If melee's on top, no survival confirmed. Hunter can be any of the specs. It doesn't matter. 2 of the 3 of them are ranged. We'll put it in the range spot. Seeing Shadow Priest. Aug. You guys are saying Aug Evoker. Okay. Is chat happy with Aug? Yes or no? You guys happy to add 1 Aug? 2 Augs. Interesting. You guys want to add 2 Augs before you see the rest of the comp rather than the one you need for... Well, I guess, do you even really need an Aug for raid buff? Let's see. Their raid buff has asked 2 Augs. 2 Augs. All right, I'm pulling it. Sorry, you guys can't. I'm not asking you whether you want 2 Augs at the end of the raid comp or not. I'm asking how many you want right now before we figure out the rest of the raid comp. All right, you have 2 responses. There's a poll in chat. Do you guys want 1 or 2 right now? All right, just 1. All right. Do I need to specify Aug? Because, I mean, Evoker's the same, right? They can literally just spec Devastation if Aug was bad or something. We're not specializing spec for anything else. Okay, what's next, guys? We haven't added any healers and tanks yet. Are there any more obvious DPS buffs? Right, so Warrior could be a DPS or a tank. DH could be a DPS or a tank. Monk could be a DPS or a tank or a healer, right? Oh, interesting. Seeing DPS Monk, DPS Druid, Blood DK. Seeing a lot of Blood DK. A lot of Warrior DPS. Warrior. Okay, chat is saying Warrior DPS and DH DPS. Okay, so you're immediately saying most likely no Prot Warrior, no Vengeance DH then. Is that correct, chat? I mean, this is kind of a historical... This has historically been accurate, so... It's not the worst guess. Alright, so now we have a decent amount of the raid buffs already done. Let's actually just remove raid buffs that we already have. Right? Yeah, that's easy. So let's just say raid buffs we don't have. That'd probably be an easy way to put that. Okay, so we can remove DH, Rogue, Warrior, Hunter, Evoker, Warlock, Mage. Even though Evokers are a little different, but... Alright, what's next, chat? What is next? Where's the next spot? So let's make sure we get all of our raid buffs first before we add in some other stuff. So we gotta get one of these. People are saying DPS Monk? Okay. Holy Paladin. I'm seeing a lot of Holy Paladin. Chat, are you guys happy with Holy Paladin? Seeing a lot of people happy with Holy Paladin. Okay. Alright, Holy Paladin's in. What next? Seeing a lot of Resto Shaman. Seeing a lot of Blood DK. Okay. I'm seeing by far the most Blood DK. Okay, so let's add Blood DK. It's weird that DK is like a... I have DK as a raid buff. I mean, it's like pretty true. Like, are you gonna need grips on? It's weird. If you're gonna need grips on Ansurek. Okay, I have a question, chat. If you need grips on Ansurek, what phase is it in? It's in P2. Okay, describe P2 to me. Is the raid together? Are they separate? It's a split raid P2. Okay, so I mean, if you're saying you need grips, which is Blood DK's raid buff, aren't you saying you need 2 grips? Talk about need here. Or do you guys think you don't need grips, you just think Blood DK is really good? Blood DK is just really good. You don't need 2 grips. You just want... Okay. I mean, we can come back to this later. You don't have to say the second DK is what you choose now. It can be something you add after you have the rest of the raid buffs. I'm asking the questions you guys should be asking yourself. You could also ask the same question, right? If P2 is really hard on the last boss, which is what you make your comp for, would you maybe want 2 Demon Hunters, right? Like 2 Chaos Brands? Or is that way less important now that they've nerfed Chaos Brand? You know, stuff like that. Like, how good is Havoc? Interesting stuff. Okay. So, what is the next decision you all make? We already have Paladin. We need to find a way to get the Monk buff. How are you guys feeling about the Monk buff right now? Are you guys feeling Brew? Are you feeling DPS Monk? It kind of locks in your tank comp forever if you hit Brew right now. Actually, I'm seeing a lot of people say Disc Priest. Oh, Mistweaver. Okay, let's figure this out. We got to do a poll. We got to do a poll. So, for now, we're adding Priest. So, I'll just add the 3 Priest specs. Where do you guys think, how do you get your fort buff? Okay, 90% are saying disc. Okay, so we're adding disc. Historically, that's been true. When was the last tier you didn't run 1 healer priest and 1 holy paladin? I want to look that up later. I think it's been a very, very, very long time. Okay, so we need a few more things, guys. We have a priest buff now. It's about to get really interesting, by the way. And you guys are about to... We've gone through most of the somewhat easy stuff, I guess. Blood DK is an interesting choice that you chose to immediately throw that as tank, for sure. That's definitely the craziest thing you guys have done so far. From like a raid comp maker POV, instantly being that committed to a tank is fucking psycho, but you guys are really happy with it, so we'll keep it there. Let's see. We don't miss. I fucking respect that. Shaman. All right, so Shaman is next, guys. Where's the Shaman? Type what spec of Shaman you want. Keep in mind, this is the first, like, required raid spec you need. So you guys are that sold on Resto. So even in a scenario where Ellie and Enhance could be good and could be played, in which you wouldn't need the buff, you're saying you think Resto Shaman, you want to lock in your 3rd healer, and you are sure that the healing comp for this tier includes these 3 specs. Again, that's crazy, but let's fucking send it. You guys don't miss. You get it right. Poll it? I mean, okay, I'll pull it. I'll pull it. All right, again, process of elimination, right? Like, you have to get your shaman buff somewhere. What's the best shaman buff, do you think? I'll delete this just until you guys finish voting on it. Okay, pretty close between Resto and Enhance from chat. Ooh, Enhance is actually pulling ahead now. Which may mean you guys want one of each, right? But again, you wouldn't do that now. That's not how you would do this. Votes over soon. It's really fucking close. Resto Shaman, Resto Stam buff, though. Yeah, I want to bring that up, just in case you guys didn't know this. So, Resto Shamans kind of have, like, an extra raid buff. They have a really easy talent point to get called Ancestral Vigor. And it gives anyone who's gotten hit by Riptide, I think Healing Wave, Healing Surge, and Chain Heal, a 10% health increase. And with at least the totemic hero talent, you have almost 100% uptime on everyone in the raid in that. And that's twice as good as Power Word Fortitude. So Resto Shaman has won by 1 vote. We must respect the vote. This is the word of the people. We will have more raid spots to add things later, but we have now gotten the Shaman raid buff. Okay. We have 2 more, guys. We'll start with Druid. All right, guys. What Druid spec is the one where we are going to get our Mark of the Wild? Feral Guardian, Resto Druid, or Moonkin? Keep in mind, we will update this if any tuning happens, but this is just for right now. Interesting. The vast majority of people think it's fucking Guardian Druid. That's insane. Holy shit. Okay. That's fucking crazy. When was the last time you ran a Guardian Druid in raid? Ideally. Like what tier? What has it been? And was it Legion? No, I think it was well, so it was the end of WoD, it was Nighthold, it was Tomb of Sargeras. Has it been since then? Aberrus? No. We didn't play it in Aberrus. Wasn't there one time in BFA? You didn't play it in Uldir, you didn't play it in Battle of Dazar'alor, you didn't play it in Eternal Palace, and you didn't play it in Nightloth, no? Okay. Alright, chat wants to lock up the tank comp and put Guardian Druid in there. Alright. Holy shit. That is a first time. There was a first time last year, though. Feral Druid was brought in a Mirdrasil. Feral Druid was brought in a Mirdrasil, and that was the first time. And people would have called you crazy for saying that before this year. But that was the first time Feral Druid was used in the Raced World first in 10 years last year. So it can always happen. Alright, chat's on a fucking spicy one. Let's go. Fucking Guardian, baby. Alright, we need a monk buff, chat. Which at this point, you have now, because you made the Guardian selection, you can no longer say Brewmaster. So you have to choose between Mistweaver and Windwalker. Let's do a poll. Actually, I'll give you a Brewmaster option, and it's basically just people saying that they actually think Guardian was wrong. It's fair. I mean, you'd have to go back on what you just said. Alright, where's your first monk you want? Damn, so it looks like Windwalker is gonna win, but it looks like a decent amount of the chat thinks that you all goofed. Meaning, you guys have to come to a collective decision, man. The goof is blood. And now you guys are seeing why potentially picking a tank that early and very confidently saying Blood DK when you don't know if you need grips was interesting, because you actually could have... See, this is a nice learning exercise, because you guys are going to learn how making a comp actually works, right? You were so confident about Blood DK, but what happens if you actually think Frost DK is going to be good for the last boss? Then now you have a Blood DK for seemingly no reason, right? And you couldn't have brought a raid buff from your tank, potentially. Like, when you're asking yourself Blood versus Brewmaster, Blood versus Guardian, Guardian versus Brewmaster, are you asking yourself which tank is better? Yes, in a way, but you're kind of also asking which DPS option would be worse that we would have to bring, right? So, just, this is why this is a fun exercise for you guys. Alright. We have Windwalker Monk as DPS. That is what you guys picked. All right, now this gets fun. Now this gets fun. All right, guys. We have a 4th healer spot. and we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 free DPS spots. What is the next thing you guys do? Ooh, a lot of Prez Evokers from chat. A lot of Prez Evoker chat enjoyers. It looks like... Oh, yeah, there's a ton of Prez... Okay, so Prez Evoker. Okay. So now our healer comp is locked in. It's like a rainbow comp. You're not running 2 of everything. That's really interesting. Historically, healer comps are... They do look like this, but I do find it fascinating that there are not more healer comps historically that have, like, a couple of healers that fill a specific role. Like, famously, Holy Paladin has always been, like, the spot healer role. That's actually not been true in recent tuning. And then Disc Priest has been the, like, ramp class. Also not true recently. Like, Preservation has ramp. Other Resto Druids have had ramp recently. Right? And then you have, like, 2 of whatever the strongest HPS healer is. That's like, a good way to make a healer comp. It's like, you need some spot healing, you need, like, a ramp class, and then you just want total HPS. I don't even care if it's actually pulsing AoE healing and it's never targeted, whatever. We just want max HPS, right? So, I think raid buffs are the reason that these usually look this way. And maybe just things always historically being like that, but I do find it interesting. I think most healer comps probably should be 2 of best thing and then 2 of the others, but you guys chose to go the other way. I mean, that's not always how it works out. It's just like that kind of makes the most sense. You need a lock. Well, we need another lock. All right, so where do you guys want to go after this? So you guys have locked in the tank. Dude, the tank comp looks fucking crazy. I don't think this has ever happened, by the way. I don't think Blood Decay Guardian has ever once happened in the history of WoW. That has never been a tank comp you play. Guys, you guys are saying 6 of something. That's not... We're picking 1 class at a time, because that's how you would actually do this. All right, I'm seeing a lot of second Aug and second Mage. Which one do you guys want to do first? There's kind of an obvious answer to this, because if 1 Aug is good, then... If you've already said you think 1 Aug is good, then the answer is Aug, right? Because you get the exact same value up till 2. So, okay, let's add a second Aug. Someone in chat said trade Guardian for Prop Paladin and Slam a Moonkin. There's a lot going on there. I have questions about that, but I'm going to ignore that you said that for now. Just for the sake of everyone else in chat. Ban him. Add 4 more Augs. Oh, little birdcock in chat too. Look at that. Gotta time you out, buddy, but... Yeah. Second Mage. Is that what you guys want to do right now? Before anything else, you guys want to add second Mage? Alright, chat. Chat looks like they want Frost Decay or second Mage. Are you guys okay with both of these? Frost Decay and second Mage. Okay. Alright, we have 3 spots left of the entire raid. What are some specs and classes that are missing? We don't have either DPS specs of Druid. We don't have a Shadow Priest. We don't have an Enhance or Ellie Shaman. We don't have, like, you know, any extra DHs or Rogues that's happened recently. What do you guys think? What are we running here? Feral and Shadow? Enhance? I'm seeing a lot of Enhance enjoyers. Enhancement. Elemental Shaman. Alright, I'll let you guys vote. You guys are saying DPS Shaman a lot. I'm just going to have you poll between which one you want. Which one do you want? You want Ellie or Enhance? Okay, Enhance is dunking. Alright, Enhance it is. Alright, guys. Let's go over some things. You only have 1 rally right now. Movement speed increases. You have 1 roar and 2 wind rush totems, plus 2 or 3 time spirals, depending on how many spatial paradoxes you want. You have a rogue that's able to bring a trophic poison, but not the attack speed reduction. You do have the ability to have the attack speed reduction by DK. One warlock could do it. It'd be kind of annoying. Don't need rally with Resto Shaman. That's not how... You don't have to choose between... Actually, they scale off each other. So if you had a Resto Shaman, it would actually make rally better. Rally becomes instantly better with Resto Shaman existing. They're not competing at all. Seeing a lot of Shadow Priest and Ret Paladin enjoyers. Seeing a lot of second Warlock enjoyers. Oh man, okay, so we gotta let me see if I can get the second. Okay, this is gonna be a hard poll to do. Alright, so do you guys want second? Okay. Let's try to get this right. So second lock. What else are you guys typing here? Second lock. Second monk. Second DK. Frost. DK. Third mage. Waiting for another person in chat. Or we can do Ret Paladin. Actually, I'll remove... Well, I can't remove anything there. We'll just do this for now. We can add priest after, potentially. Alright. There's the poll. One PI is a joke. Okay, so chat is not happy about second Frosty K or Monk. Second lock is winning by a wide margin. Okay, second lock. We have officially one more spot left in the chat Race to World First comp. Right now, this is looking very similar to a few raids I can think. Like, 2 Warlocks isn't uncommon, 2 Mages isn't uncommon, 2 Evokers is like, that's just been the case since AUG has been released. Actually, that's been the case since Season 2 of last expansion, right? Even, like, before they were released, you ran 2 devs. Right now, let's look at our comp. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 melee. We have 7 melee, including the healers, so not an even number. Sometimes that doesn't matter, but sometimes it does. Think on a fight like Silken Court, right? The second to last boss, you split your raid half and half. Maybe you do want an even amount. You never know. You guys have one more spot. I'm trying to see what you guys want. So let's do a poll. I'm going to just type what you guys want in the last slot. So I see a lot of Shadow Priest. Let's say third mage. Trying to read chat. Feral. Okay, I'm confused. I actually see a lot of people saying feral right now. But is the feral going to be removing Guardian? Would you guys run Guardian Druid even if you had a feral? I assume when you say feral, it means remove Guardian and you guys get another spot to pick. I mean, you know what? Let's save that till after. Let's save that till after if you guys want to. I'll give you guys a chance. If you guys can all band together, I'll give you a chance to remove or change something if you want to. All right, so I'm seeing a lot of third mage, seeing a lot of Shadow Priest. Okay, seeing second rogue for crippling poison. Okay, I'll add second rogue. See Ret Pally enjoyers. We'll add Ret Pally. And second hunter. All right, polls up. Wow, Shadow Priest is dominating. That's crazy. When was the last time you played a Shadow Priest in the raid? That's another question. Shadow Priest. It's been last expansion, right? Aberrus? Did we run one in Aberrus? I don't think so. We did? Wait.
Watch the thing.
Wait, I think we do. Insane raid that you made me there. Watch the thing. Yeah, Kingfly's on priest, you're right. All right, wow, Shadow Priest. Interesting. Only 2 PIs. You need 2 PIs. Okay, yeah, so fuck it. Fuck it, chat. Let's get it. All right, so now that you guys have your chat list, this is the chat list. Is there anything you guys would like to change? What do you guys hate about this? What do you guys think? Okay, we were wrong earlier, but now we're right. Someone in chat says remove both tanks. Get rid of Guardian. Blood Decay is wrong. All right. All right, let's just... How about this? I'll give you guys a choice. I'm going to do a poll. The poll is... Do we do? And I'll give you an option. You can vote to keep the tanks you've selected. Or we can reselect tanks. You have 2 choices. I'll delete both of them and we can just select them both again. All right, it looks like chat overwhelmingly has decided to reselect both of the tanks. Okay, interesting. Which is why I told you guys when you were... I told you, when you guys were picking tanks that early, I was warning you that that is not the correct order in which you should be doing that. You should pretty much... This is a lesson you guys can learn from this. When you're picking a comp, always pick your tanks after your melee. Picking your tanks before your melee is psychotic. It makes no sense. And you guys... not saying you were right or wrong in your choices of any of this. It's just that clearly your mind changed after you did your melee. And it's very simply because you just chose to do one before the other. You learned something today. All right. So, we're starting with tanks again. What is the tank you guys would like to add? I will pull all the tanks. You can choose one. Okay. What tank? I will put Brew. I'll put Blood Decay. I'll put Guardian. I'll put Vengeance. And I will put... there's like multiple other tanks. But I'm just going to leave out Prot Paladin because I haven't seen a single person type Prot Paladin yet. So I'm just going to put Prot Warrior instead. Okay. All right. Pulls out. What is the first tank you guys would like to add? Okay, I'm seeing... Wow, Brewmaster and Prot Warrior are both really, really fucking close. Okay. Looks like Brewmaster is going to win pretty handily. Okay, so chat wants to add a Brewmaster. All right, now that you guys have added a Brewmaster, we will ask the question of the second tank. But before we do that, I want to ask you, do you guys want to add Brewmaster and leave it at that? Or would you like to add Brewmaster, but now that you've done that, would you want to remove Windwalker and pick another class? I'm going to do that poll right now. After this poll ends, I will do that. All right, I'm seeing a lot of people type Feral, so I'm going to try to save one poll here just in case it's actually what you guys want. So you can actually say no to this, it's fine, but the question will be, what do? And the response will be, keep Brew, remove Windwalker. The second option will be do nothing. The third option will be keep Brew, replace Windwalker with Feral. And the other one will be actually the do nothing and replace Windwalker with Feral, or replace Windwalker with chat vote. You guys can say replace Windwalker with chat vote. If you just want to actually vote it out instead of literally do Feral. A lot of you guys are typing Feral, and there is a need for a Druid buff right now. So I just want to potentially save a vote if that's what you guys want to do. Okay, so it seems like 60% of you are in favor of specifically removing Windwalker Monk for Feral Druid. Okay. And the good news is, you guys actually get a little bit of a pass. We don't have to say it's a Feral Druid because any good player that's playing Feral or Moonkin in your raid can play the other one. The only thing you have to get is like a weapon and trinkets, so you can actually cover both, the same as any other spec. You can also say the same about Enhanced Shaman. So we'll just put Druid there. So in the case where the balance changes and for whatever reason you want the other spec of DPS Druid, this counts, right? Or should that count? Actually, fuck it. I'll make it harder on you guys. You want Feral. Fuck it. And also, could we agree that a DK player covering Frost and Unholy is not the same as a DPS player covering Enhance and Ellie? Or a Hunter player covering Survival and BM? Like, the melee to ranged swap is way fucking different than playing two specs of the same role, I think. Okay, so, chat. Now we have removed Windwalker and added Brewmaster, which again, everyone in chat at least type that you have learned the lesson. You can say this by saying amen, and that is that you are now repentant and you understand that when you're making raid comps, you always select melee before tanks. And you can use this session today as a exact example as to why you don't do that. A lot of amens. All right. Thank you. Everyone, at the very least, whether you got this right or wrong, you at least learned something today. Okay. Tanks first always. Oops, spotted the tank player. Very weird. Okay. We have one more spot. We can make some other alterations. But you guys do have to vote for your second to last tank here. So. What tank? I'll put Prop Paladin in there because I think I can remove Guardian because you guys chose to. I mean, maybe you want a Guardian. I mean, why would you choose to? Yeah, okay, never mind. Yeah, I'll just do all of them a Guardian. Bloody K. Prot Warrior. Prot Pal. Spell Warding Angle. What are the other two? The fuck am I? I'm blanking. Second Brewmaster, I suppose. Or Vengeance. Yeah. There we go. Okay. Looks like Blood DK is going to win. Prot Warrior is second. So I have a question, chat. If you guys really wanted Brewmaster there, I guess you wanted it to be your buff. But if you really thought Brewmaster was that good, why wouldn't you run two of them? Right? Just for the sake of argument. I just want to hear what you think. Only need one buff? It's a waste, okay. Because Windwalker is beans everywhere else, okay. Want different utility toolkit. Okay. I wonder if I gaslit you guys earlier when I said there would be two sides in P2, and if you ever needed grips, it would be because of P. I definitely gaslit you, I think. Because, like, I mean, it is true. You would only ever need grips on Ansurek and P2, I think. Right, unless they change something. And if that's true, you would need them on both sides. They're most likely identical or very similar sides. So if you needed one on one, you need it on the other. And if you didn't need them at all, you wouldn't need any DKs, right? So it's either like on that fight, you would either bring 2 or 0, unless one of the specs was randomly overperforming and you brought it just for damage or its tankiness or something. Okay. So Blood DK. All right, chat. Take a second to review your comp. Is there anything here that gives you the heebie-jeebies? You will have a chance to update this when they do new tuning. But is this what you guys like? Is this that good shit? What do you guys not like? Get rid of one evoker. Swap Enhance for Ellie. Balance better than Feral. Go second warrior. Go second warrior. All right, I don't see a lot of one thing. I think the thing I see the most of is that people are not happy with the priest pick and people aren't happy with the second warlock pick. So I'll just, I guess, I don't know how I do this. I'll just do 2 individual polls. So warlock, second warlock, or repick spec. Are you guys happy with second warlock, or do you guys want to reselect? Okay, it looks like the vast majority of you want to repick. My question is, why did you guys pick second warlock so early if you want to repick it now? Is it just that you needed to see the whole comp, like, form for you to see it, or we didn't? Well, I mean, you did. We didn't pull that. It was the vast majority of selection. When I picked second lock, it was being said before, like, almost everything after second mage. It was, like, instantly that. Okay, so second warlock is removed. All right, now you guys have to pick this spec. So now we are back to 1 warlock. What do you guys want instead of the warlock? Let's see. I'll do a poll. I just need to see what you guys type, though. Okay. So I'm seeing second warrior. I'm seeing Windwalker monk. I'm seeing third mage. I'm seeing second rogue. And I'm seeing ret. Those I think are the most. Let me look at it for a few more seconds. Yeah, that's the most. Okay, cool. Sending it. 1 minute. What do you guys want? What's the new class? Ooh. It's very, very fucking close, actually. Holy shit. It is so close. I mean, to be fair, this one should be close, right? Like you're picking the 20th raid spot. I can tell you from experience, even when you are using the narrowest of margins at the very highest level, it is a very hard decision. Like, there's reasons you could bring pretty much anything. And also, a lot of you guys are going to be upset with whatever wins this poll, because no matter what, 70% of you are going to be mad because the winner is going to have right around 30%. Which is kind of the point. You have to come to a conclusion, right? All right, second rogue has barely beat out third mage, and as I'm expecting, 70% of you will be mad because the thing you chose was not 29% of what you guys picked. So, all right, second rogue. Wait, what is it? Re-poll between the top 3? I mean, it won the poll. Okay, we'll redo it. I mean, why not? We have all the time in the world. I'll make sure you guys get exactly what you want. Second rogue, third mage, and second warrior won by a lot. So, let's see that. Second rogue, third mage, and what was the other one? Second warrior? It wasn't Windwalker monk, and it wasn't ret. It was second warrior, I think. Yeah, okay. I'm doing it. It's up right now. Holy fuck, it's close. Oh my god, it's close. Then you're splitting the melee vote? I don't think that matters. It would make it symmetrical, right? How many melee do you have? You have 1 healer melee, and then 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You would have exactly 8 melee characters. Not to say you need that, but I think having a symmetrical amount of melee makes sense. So picking melee here isn't stupid. Bro, how is it not a third mage, chat? Ah. Well, I mean, if I'm going to guess, it's because a lot of you guys are picking historically, right? This is a very historic looking raid comp. Like, this is pretty similar to what you run, like, all the fucking time. I think, I don't, like, if you think about it, running 3 of a spec in current raid tuning is, like, really hard to do. Like, when have you done that? Since there's been this many raid buffs, right? Since Dragonflight, when have you run 3 of a spec? Have you? Since you've had 15 raid buffs? Like, Rogue was fucking insane last year. Could you have run 3 on the last boss? Yeah, but, like, you didn't. That even goes to show, like, how hard it is to actually, like how much better... Here's the reality. How much better a class would have to be than the next best spec in the game to confidently run 3 of them and not want a different profile is very, very hard to do. Like, for example, even in cases where there has been an objective best class in the game, it can hurt you if they have too distinct of a profile. Perfect example, Fire Mage, Eternal Palace, right? Fire Mages absolutely own an Eternal Palace, but it sucked having 4 of them for us because in P2, they would all use their combust on the first add, and while it did let us, like, kill it really fast, we didn't have enough damage for the other 2, and it would have been better to swap one of them with, like, a do damage all the time class, like a Shadow Priest. We just didn't do that. Wild Spirits Hunter in Castle Nathria. So Shadowlands is not what I'm talking about. So Dragonflight and the War Within are when you have almost 15 raid buffs required. Shadowlands had less than 10. So completely different world, right? The ability to stack more than 2 of a class with 9 required spots versus 15 is 2 different universes, right? So what did Chad end up picking? Was it second? Wait, what ended up winning? Warrior or Rogue? Warrior won. All right, fuck it. 2 DPS warriors. All right, this is chat's official. I mean, this is so funny. If I keep saying what you guys want to change, you guys are just gonna keep replacing the last DPS spot because it's so obviously split between all of you. But that is pretty indicative of how actual decisions like that are made. Because really, the last raid spot is really fucking close. A lot of the time, it comes down to, like, who are the players in your guild, who would be the best player you could add to your roster, kind of thing. I think this is it. I mean, we could remove something, but I mean, every time we're just going to be removing stuff, adding it back, you know? Why would you bring Windwalker or Rep Pally, chat? Oh, okay, I actually know the answer to this. Well, I mean, I'm not saying, like, regardless of tuning, but, like, there is actually a reason you would bring both Windwalker and Rep Pally to a comp like this based on the fight. Do you guys know what it is? Why would you bring either one of those classes? It's a little different between the 2 of them, but it's actually the main difference is really the same. This many melee is bad for mechanics. That's objectively not true. Hasn't been true since Old Year. I won't. No, it's when it was like the beginning of Shadow, I want to say since Castle Nathria, saying like you can't bring this many melee has been objectively not true. They've made raids very melee friendly since then. They even spoke about it in an interview. Immunity. Okay, a lot of you are actually getting it right. So as opposed to a lot of classes in this raid comp, something that some classes do this, like Enhanced does this, but like both Rep Paladin and Monk have really different and also like malleable cooldowns. So Red Paladin just has a lot of damage kind of all the time, but especially every 30 seconds. This is something that can be really good for like ad waves and P2 on Ansarek potentially. Like, do you guys remember Sylvanas Mythic? How like certain classes were really good at P2 and others were bad? Like most classes in the game could CD platforms 1 and 3. So because of that, you weren't really interesting and you weren't a good class if you could do that because everyone else was doing it. You didn't need help on 1 and 3. And if you were another class, just using them on 2 would be a waste. So like you needed a class like Unholy that had like Dark Transformation every single boss burn and every single platform. That was super value. Windwalkers had the ability to move their cooldowns around in progression to like fix what the group needed, and that changes depending on your raid group. That's something that Windwalker and Ret can both do really well. Ret doesn't do that as well as Windwalker, but Ret has like really, really strong externals. So like adding a sack from a Ret Paladin, a famously unkillably strong DPS spec, can be insanely good on a fight with really hard-hitting targeted dots or like really gibby lethal like single target things on people like Razageth, getting the mechanic in P1 Razageth where you had to move out. Like, dude, having extra sacks for that is so fucking insane. Bops for specific fights with physical bleeds and stuns and stuff like that is really good. So like I'm just trying to throw some things out there as like why people are saying you would want a Red or a Windwalker. It's totally fight dependent, but like certain classes do that way better than others. Chat is saying, or one person chat is saying, we want Holy Priest. It has OP CDs over Prez Evoker. Is that true, chat? Do we want... Okay, I'm pulling that. Healers. I think the only one that's up for debate is Prez. So remove Prez, repick, or keep Prez. Polls out. All right. A vast majority of people are saying keep Prez. All right. Chat gets what it wants. So what's your, what's your healer comp, guys? How does your healing comp work? Remember how I before told you needed like a spot healer, you needed like a ramp healer kinda, and then you just needed like total HPS? So who's your spot healer in this comp, chat? Paladin. That's been true historically. Is it true now? Yes? Alright, cool. So you guys think Paladin's your spot healer. Who's your ramp healer? This is actually a chat IQ test. Got it. Disc and Prez. Okay, so you guys got that right. So Disc and Prez both... There's different playstyles for Prez, but definitely like majorly overwhelmed by the style of ramp. So then if you don't have... So if you have 2 ramp classes, 1 spot heal, that's worked before. That's actually... That's what you did in Vault of the Incarnates. That's what you did in Last Raid of Last Expansion. That's what you did in Sanctum. You ended up running... Oh, dude, remember Sanctum, actually? Sanctum was one of the weirdest healing comps ever. It was 2 Ashen Hollow Holy Paladins and 2 Disc Priests. So your gameplay was actually balancing 4 ramps. You just had, like... You had like Kyrian disc ramps and Ashen Hollow soloing raid healing at different times. That was like the weirdest healing tier ever. And you guys think Shaman's your raw HPS healer? Yeah, you could look at that a few different ways, right? Because like if you actually didn't feel that Shaman was the high HPS healer, you could argue that it's there for Vigor. It's not really there for a raid buff because you guys seem pretty happy with Enhance. But it's interesting if you guys, how you feel about Disc. You've put Disc there historically. But because you added Disc before Shadow Priest, if you're actually sold on Shadow Priest, you actually maybe don't need a Disc. So because Disc and Preservation are both ramp classes, you have to ask yourself why you wouldn't run 2 Discs or 2 Preservation, right? Wouldn't you potentially run the best one of both of them twice. It's another way to look at it. I just want to ask you guys why you think you would do that. PI. You want PI. You want 2 PI. Okay, tell me why you want 2 PI. How powerful do you guys think PI is nowadays? Just make up a number. If you are PIing another class, how much percentage damage do you think you give to them over the course of a fight? Make that up. 5%? Interesting. So do you guys think 5% of a DPS's damage would swing things in regards to healer balance? As far as how much healer damage they do in between each other? The percentage damage is not relevant over the fight. It's the burst damage. Okay. The morale buff. Max, to be fair, what is the best spot healer at the moment? I would swap them for disc. I don't know the answer to that question, unfortunately. Good try, though. What does ramp healer mean? It means a healer whose power is defined by their ability, either through one or multiple cooldowns, to solo heal a ridiculous amount of damage with just their cooldown. And there's like a lot of preparation and setup that goes in. Well, there's varying amounts of setup, actually. But it's like the ability to like do crazy healing, right? Like I would say a ramp healer's healing profile, just totally making this up, is this. It's like a ramp healer looks more like this. Like this is the timeline of the fight. Their healing's like very little, massive, very little, massive, very little, maybe like a little mini ramp, big massive thing, huge fucking spike. That's like what a ramp healer kind of looks like. And then a spot healer kind of, well, totally depends on the fight, but like it's just kind of more static. They have like a cooldown window, but it's like a little higher all the time, right? Something like that. Whenever they use their CDs. And then like the high HPS healer, there's been varying different versions of this, and they do have cooldowns, but they're just kind of just like they're not up here. They're like all the time, they're like just here. And these things work well in conjunction with each other. If you had a bunch of these, it would be hard to plan around, right? Like it was in Sanctum. So you want like some of those, you want some of these, you want one or two of these. It kind of depends on the raid. I would say healer balance is usually unique enough to a specific tier where sometimes you can convince yourself to run more or less of each one of those things, but, you know. Chat got the list wrong already. We 3 healing. That would be surprising. If you guys heal, you probably know this, but you are statistically much more likely to 5 heal as opposed to 3 heal in like an intro raid. 5 healing actually exists significantly more in the first raid of an expansion, and under healing exists significantly more later in the expansion. In fact, I think you can go back and look at other raids. I think like the first raid of every expansion is like majorly 5 healed, actually. Usually it's like second reset when you start like 4 healing the last boss. This list is also why you have flex spots. Yeah, true. I mean, that's a really important question. So, like, the way that I look at our comp and progression is never this. It's like maybe 17 or 18 spots are like locked the fuck in, and then spots 19 and 20 are realistically like all the way up to usually like 23, maybe 24. It's never any more than that, realistically, based on tuning. But like that's like realistically how you look at it, because like classes just do different things, like we talked about. But you guys don't get that option. You guys have to pick exactly 20 and fucking live with it. Is Enhance really better than Ellie? That's what chat thinks. Does the Hunter's Mark make that much of a difference? Yeah. I mean, Hunter's Mark is weird because it's a raid buff where you can kind of just apply... You could just quickly look on logs and just apply the extra damage they're doing to their damage to see how much they're actually benefiting you. But it's pretty good, yeah. There's a lot of common misconceptions. People are like, well, if the damage that you do in the first... So here's what the Hunter raid buff is. Hunter's Mark makes your raid do 5% more damage for the first 20% of the boss's health. So from 100 to 80%, you would do 5% more damage as a raid. But there are some bosses where the damage you do in P1 doesn't translate to the damage in like P3 or like the end of the fight, right? So, like, some famous fights like that are, like, Castle Nathri, like Denathrius or Razageth. But I think what a lot of people are missing is... I don't think that means that Hunter's Mark is bad on those fights. It's certainly possible that Hunter is ever tuned so low that even when you add basically 1% of the raid's DPS to their number... that it's still not good enough. It would have to be historically bad for that to be true. In fact, I don't think Hunter's been tuned like that in the last 10 years. That raid buff would have made them relevant on a like Sludge Fist type fight forever. It's good enough, right? But even like I've heard people say Razageth. Like I think the fact that your damage in P1 does not generate any like positive difference to the enrage or like your damage in P3, but I still think it's important as fuck. Like, bro, if you had a Hunter's Mark on Razageth, could you imagine how hard P1 have been, which, by the way, was the hardest part of the fight, without an extra 5% extra damage? The amount of pushes we missed week 1 by just barely missing it and getting the 6th wins, oh my god, it would have been fucking insane. It would have been so fucking valuable. You would have been a lunatic to not bring a Hunter to that fight, right? If that raid buff had existed then. The only boss I can think of in the past 4 to 5 to 6 years is actually the relevant boss is Denathrius. I think Denathrius is the only boss where I don't think Hunter's Mark alone would have given them a raid spot, but in that tier, Hunters were already turbo fucking OP. You ran like 3 or 4 of them, so it wouldn't have mattered anyway, but ye. Sylvanas? Oh, you would have definitely brought him on Sylvanas. By that same logic, shouldn't Devastation's Mastery make it really good for progression? Yes, actually. If you getting out of P1 is by far the hardest thing and you have to make a P1 DPS check, think Razageth, think Blackhand, think like super important hard and rage P1s. They should, yeah. I mean, if Devastation is tuned well, then their Mastery should put them ahead. It totally depends on tuning, but I mean, you could make that argument. But if like P3 is the hardest part, you can make the opposite argument. And more often, P3s are actually what's holding you back, not P1s. Max, similarly, Rashanan just fucks Hunter's Mark and boost execute though, right? Or are you talking about the dungeon version, or are you talking about the raid version? Because in dungeons, you could make the argument that hunters are really OP for Rashanan because it's only 100 to 60, so they're adding 5% more damage for half the fight. But in raid, you fight it from 60 to 0, so obviously it would have no benefit. I think that would matter if Rashanan wasn't a completely irrelevant easy boss. But you are right, if it wasn't near an end boss, it'd be weird. Max, who are the Shadow Priests I should be watching on Twitch? Couldn't tell you. Has the Race World comp been decided? I think our comp for what tuning currently stands has been decided, but I think tuning could change that in the next couple weeks. I think the tuning they did this week kind of showed me that they're not going to majorly change what is happening right now, but I also don't think tuning is bad right now. Like this instant, I think tuning in the game is actually like pretty solid. Not to say it's the way it's going to be, but it's pretty close. There's a lot of really good classes. Obviously, if anyone in chat is like... I'm saying in the broad perspective. I'm not saying there isn't any class that's specifically not good. I'm just saying, like, historically, the tuning is not super bad right now. But I know a lot of you guys are hearing that, and, like, the class you play in your head isn't good enough, and you're just like, no. But I don't, like, look at it from any class's personal level. I'm talking about, like, in the grand scheme of things. Max, does a trophic poison make enough of a difference to put rogue in a must-have spot? A trophic poison makes the boss do 3% less damage. So, 100% yes, fucking OP as fuck. And so, yeah. Insanely OP. Now, is there a boss where... if rogue was so bad, I mean, rogue was terrible, could you sit a trophic poison? It would depend on the boss, because it would increase deaths pretty significantly to remove rogue if it was a hard boss. But I mean, if they were terrible, you could remove them, yeah. But that's not usually the case. 3% boss damage reduction is insane. Also, keep in mind, it only reduces damage that's sourced to the boss, and some bosses have environment damage. Like Sludge Fist, for example. If you ever look at the damage you took on Sludge Fist, the majority of it was from the dot, but that dot doesn't get applied by the boss. It gets applied by the room crumbling. So it actually isn't sourced to him. So the majority of Sludge Fist's damage you take isn't even from the boss itself. So a trophic poison on bosses like that have much less value. Yet the really punishing things do, like the roars, like it would reduce it on that, and that's still really value. It's actually 3.6 DR when they spec better poisons. It's even better. Ah, yes. Max, do you think people would be interested in a service for experiencing what it would be like to be part of a race world first? No. There's nothing that prepares you for this other than doing it. I mean, what you could do is go painstakingly, like, fucking raid 16 hours a day in a guild that isn't progressing very well and want to, like, never play WoW ever again. Bro, ask some of the players that have been in, like, especially in the last, like, 4 to 5 years. Ask some of those guilds that were, like, putting in Race World first hours but were nowhere close. And they were still logging on every day, not feeling confident and positive about how they were doing, and then they still had to just raid for 16 hours, bro. I promise you there's been very few, like, soul-sucking moments in gaming that exist besides that. It would kill your desire to play this game, probably. Max, do you have a time limit for this race? Like, do you know how long you can contest before people can't see it through? I actually don't know. Like, Sepulcher was one where, like, once we lost, our players were like, this is so fucking bullshit, let's leave. But that was also the worst event ever. Like, that was... Like, if you're asking me that question now, I don't know how long we could last in a race like this. Because, like, the Liquid facility is actually sick. The Boston facility was horrible. Like, actively contributed negatively to us being there. Like, we played worse because we were there at all. So I don't know how that would be now. We also learned a lot about, like, sleep and how to take care of your body during the race, which would definitely give us a little bit more longevity. I don't know the answer to that. The reality is, I don't know how long it is, but it's not infinite because, okay, if you were just progressing raid bosses that were really hard and really fun, you could probably just do that forever because that's like that shit we like. But the reality is when you're spending that much time, you're spending it on overtuned or broken or like laggy nonsense. Like basically what you're spending time doing isn't the like fun learning problem solving thing. It's like really frustrating problems that are not your fault and you have to deal with. And that's what burns you out, right? And so I don't know how long that would be. It's kind of like a made-up scenario, but... Max, did you know that a Trophic stacks with a second rogue? I don't think that's true. Maybe it does, though. Because if, let's just say you would run 10 rogues. Like, it's possible it does now. It didn't before, but, like, it's possible it does now. But that would scale kind of insane, right? Like, Race World first with 10 rogues, the boss just does 30% less damage. That would be quite good. Max, rate chat's comp on a scale of 1 to 10, please. I can't tell you that. I can tell you very confidently there's some things on this list that you might have gotten right, and there's some things on this list you might have gotten wrong. Which tells you nothing. But you know what it is. What I do think actually, well, this isn't new, but like, I think balance is good enough to where if you had the people who played in your guild just play whatever class they find the most fun, I think your guild would have no problems. I don't think balance is bad enough to where you need to run a specific comp. But that being said, that's been true in like every raid ever. So I'm saying nothing new, and people are still going to bring the meta stuff no matter what. But the reality is bring the player over the class 100% of the time, especially if you're not raiding at the very highest levels of the game. I think you are just absolutely trolling if you have like a raid spot at the end and you're choosing to bring a less good player because you perceive that other person's class to be better. You are making such a mistake. Max, what are your thoughts on the D4 expansion coming up? I'm super hyped from it because I've had so much fun playing the last 2 seasons. And the new class looks actually insane. I haven't seen the dev thing that they've talked about it for, but I'm definitely I'm gonna play that shit for like probably like 2 full weeks when it comes out. It's leaning more towards D3. Bro, I'm fucking hard down with that. D3 for the last like 4 or 5 years of its lifetime was fucking amazing. Bro, D3 seasons were fucking log the fuck in, dude. I'm in there. What is it? So if you have 19 super good players and no mage in group and the only mage you got is shit, it's better to not bring them for the buff or over a good player? Oh, yeah, probably. Depends on how hard the boss is. Because if you guys are killing bosses late into a tier, the reality is gear and power is not what's holding you back. It's mechanics. So you probably could lose a now nerfed raid buff in Arcane Intellect if it meant that player was going to be dead every pull. Yeah, for sure. But that's an extreme example. Obviously, in most cases, it's probably still worth bringing a raid buff. But even in that example, if someone's truly that bad, you would rather play without them 100%. Because what, Arcane Intellect increases your raid's power by what? It's a 3% buff. Probably half of the DPS in your group are scaling with it. So it increases your raid DPS by 1.5%. Roughly also increases your healing by 3%. So, but if that person's dead every time, then they're contributing that much less to the raid. So their loss is worse than that. So you as an individual DPS are worth more than a couple percentage of damage to the raid. You're worth like what, 14 divided by 100? That much percent? Yeah, 100 divided by 14, yeah. Where are the doggos? Well, I think Reppy just heard his name. Little Rep. Reppy. Reptar, come here. Come here, buddy. Come here. Come here, little guy. Oh, what a stretch. Oh, what a stretch. He's so big. Come here. Come on. Come on. Oh, yeah, he's so big. He's such a big dog. And he's a Reptar. Hi, Reptar. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. He loves the little scritches. That's his favorite. What breed is that? What's that on your back? Oh, it's... Wait, let me see if... Has this been announced yet? I might be wearing some shit I'm not supposed to, actually. Oh, no, I think it's available. Yeah, it's available. It's the new Team Liquid, X-Men 97 shit. So it's got like this, and the back is like all the... Those guys, all the X-Men. I just wanted to be sure. They always send me this shit ahead of time, and I didn't wear it for a couple weeks, and I just assumed it has been out, but I think it has been, yeah. We'll see with this, Pete. I wonder what the coolest shit they have in the collection. What would you guys cop? I know they had a sick jacket that I got. Okay, so we got the Yerzy, but this thing. I got this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, look, I have it right here. This shit. I got it. Let's fucking go. W me. W me. And then just a bunch of tees. Wait, was there a hat? I didn't get the hat if there's a hat. No, there's not a hat. Wait, the rugby shirt's kind of sick too. What spec are your locks leaning towards? What's your favorite spec? He's not answering. Oh. Destro for sure. It's Destro then. How the hell did you get the license to make that shit? I don't know. Team Liquid's done apparel launches with X-Men 97, like, I mean, they've done a ton of Marvel shit. Here, let's see what they've done. Oh, collaborations. Yeah, they've done, like, Disney, they've done Marvel, they've done Star Wars, they've done Death Note, they've done Naruto. The Naruto shit sold insanely well. I don't know if they still sell it. Looks like they do. I don't think they sell the OG one. I think that one is out of commission now. The one that, like, sold extremely well, you can't get anymore, I don't think. Naruto 20-year. Wait, maybe this one is it. I got a bunch of this stuff. I don't watch any anime, but I have this hoodie. It's fucking sick. And I have definitely had people say, like, phrases to me before that I should know what they mean because they assume I'm a big Naruto fan and I don't know anything. It's extremely hype. I couldn't even recall to you what they've said to me, but I'm just like, yeah, man. Yeah. Love it. Max, what's your favorite melee spec? This X-Pack so far doesn't have to be strong, just has to be fun. Fuck, man. Wait, let me hit this. Let me hit this fucking dummy real quick. Is it this guy? I think it might be the... Because it's weird. The reason I'm doing Shadow Pan is I think Shadow Pan's actually more fun than Celestial Conduit right now, which is I feel weird about, but... Everything online says Shadow Pan is better. I don't give a fuck about better or worse. It's more fun. It's the only thing I care about. Now, what about Enhanced, though? Max, would you still play your class as good if your action bars were hidden, and why? Well, what do you mean by action bars? Do you mean the things at the bottom of my screen that I'm not looking at, or do you mean the like little weak aura package? Your action bars, yes, not the weak auras. Oh yeah, I mean, I even have a keybind to hide them. I don't know if it's bound on my shaman, but I usually play with them gone. Yeah, okay, I don't have it bound on this spec, but there's actually an Atrocity UI feature, I think. Where is it? Hide action bars, this. Right here. Right, you can just press this and it goes away. I literally never do I look down here, ever, under any circumstances. My eye line never looks down here. I assume those bars only exist so you can move things. Yeah. Like, oftentimes I don't even hide it because the fact that it's there isn't relevant to me. It's like, it being there or not being there doesn't matter because I don't see it either way. Do you play LA Blast in as Enhance after the reset because of the changes? I don't know, I just got here. What a good bit. As if the only person I'm talking to is you. That's an insane bit. You definitely do on single target? Are you sure, though? Because you won't get the refunds. Right? Dude. Please let me press another button. You know what's a weird feeling? Primwave is actually more fun to play for me without the follow-up talent that makes it give you 10 Maelstrom. I actually like not having the Maelstrom gen. Like, the Maelstrom gen feels wasteful a lot of the time when you actually play it. It doesn't, what I'm saying doesn't make sense because it's like objectively better than it gives it, but I just don't like it. Obviously, I really like the bottom thing. Splintered Elements is sick, but Primal Maelstrom, like, per talent point, so dog shit. Like, you're basically spending, like... You're literally spending 3 talent points for this, but I feel like you're basically saying Splintered Elements is worth, like, 2.5 talent points, or 2 instead of 1. But also, you guys have to keep in mind that I am a stickler for resource wasting. Like, if your class wastes resources, it makes me mad 100% of the time. Really mad. This spec is incredible, man. It's an incredible spec. So if I could do this all day. Alright, I'm done. Want to slam a heroic dungeon? Only if we leave together after the first boss. No, Twitter will be mad. Bro, guys, moles getting mad about people leaving dungeons only means one thing to me. It just means WoW is fucking back. We're so back. Because if the moles are back, the fucking game is back. Let's go. Like, bro, if you were to post right now on Twitter and just say, hey, when someone leaves a dungeon group, it's not that big of a deal because someone just applies and joins right away and you just continue like nothing happened. If you were to say that, you would get ratioed into oblivion by moles. That's what I'm saying. It's fucking back. Hey, Max, what's up? Nothing much. I'm actually about to